Shalom, and welcome again to this edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm your host, Rabbi Richard Address, and we welcome you and thank you for your time. If you'd like to contact us about suggestions or ideas or comments for shows and podcasts, please feel free to email me at rabbaiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. Visit us on the website, jewishsacredaging.com, or like us on the handy Facebook page, the Jewish Sacred Aging at Facebook. As you know, in these podcasts, we try to take a look at some of the aspects and issues and events that could impact us and our families and our communities, given this revolution in longevity. And to speak to that in a little bit of a different way, we're very pleased to welcome to today's edition of Seekers of Meaning Mr. Norman Shabel, who is the author of this book, For Women, paperback book, I would imagine, available, Norman, at the usual outlets, including the great God Amazon. So, Norman, welcome. Nice to see you. I know you're coming to us from the beautiful land of Aventura, Florida. I hope things are well down south. So, For Women, a very interesting book. We're going to delve into a little bit about this, but I think I want to know what was the motivation? You've written books before. What was the genesis, the motivation for you writing this particular book?
Well, the four women in the book are well known to me. It's my mother, my aunt, a couple of other women who live in Miami. And where they live in Miami was their whole life was there. But I've been involved with the men who were in the German Nazis. And in my book, I put the Nazi who survives the war, who comes to America and is a builder. And he wants to build in Miami, Florida. He wants to take away the building of these four women who live there. And that's what the book is all about.
So you are a trial lawyer.
Yes.
In Jersey or Philly?
I'm in both.
So this is the background of this book plays out against a trial. And the juxtaposition of the trial with this gentleman, Mr. Benash, and the four women, Helen, Mary, Lily, and Rachel, who are in many ways, as you describe them in flashbacks back and forth, the heroines of the book. And in the actually, the way you have it set up, I don't know what, I'm sure people have mentioned this to you. It almost plays out like a Netflix serial, a Netflix show or Amazon Prime show. I don't know whether they've contacted you to buy the movie rights, but it sort of like plays out that way. And the German developer, I mean, it all comes together as a good trial book does. And those at the end and the revealing of certain types of things. So these four women they're really part of you, aren't they? Then, as you mentioned, they're part of your history.
Oh yes. I was brought up in Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
And these women were part of my life. They start off with my aunt and my mother. It talks about a nurse who was in Italy and came to live with these four women. I try to show the strength that these women show in their lifetime and how they survive.
You have this wonderful phrase with one of the women, and for the people who will read the book, every woman gets a starring part. I mean, he reveals who they are and everything. You have this wonderful phrase. I want you to talk to me about it, about Helen as, quote, a white sensation, a storm, a white storm with this white hair. Who is Helen in your real life?
My Aunt Helen,
Right.
who actually used to live in Coney Island.
Oh, okay.
It's very effective in getting things done for her people in the building. I try to bring out the strength of these women, all four of them, and that's why I put them all in one place in one book, and this the hero is a lawyer who's a little drunken, but his mother and his wife are part of his people, and it shows how he gets this very bad landlord or German who wants to take over their building, and they're sent out to other places. So that's what the book is all about.
So a couple of questions on the way you structured the book. There's some also kind of like I got to ask you whether you did this on purpose. Some of the names that you use, like a character in the book, Saul Bellows instead of Saul Bellow. And then you have this psychiatrist, Dr. Dark, who comes up. I read that, I chuckle. I said, I don't know whether that was your particular view of psychiatry or psychiatrist. They name him Dr. Dark, but it was kind of cool. But you set this book in Miami Beach, and for those of us who've been to Miami, some of the names and the places, the Fontainebleau, Wolfie's, Wolfie's on Collins Avenue, and some of the other places, you'll remember them. But you set the book in 1968. Why that year, which was a absolutely tumultuous year in the United States history?
Well, because it was a very tumultuous year for many women, but particularly Jewish women in the 60s and early 70s, and Miami was changing a great deal. There were a lot of developers were coming in and pushing people out, and that's one of the reasons why I put it in the 60s.
Yeah, that struck me, because if you go, I remember the first time I was down there, they had those strings on, was it Ocean Avenue by the beach, by the ocean, and all those hotels. And then you come fast forwarded 30 years later, and a lot of those hotels are gone or have been redone, and those people were thrown out of their homes, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many people were thrown out of their homes. But I also, not only did I put the four women, I also put the German who had, because I wrote a book about the Nazis, and in a couple of my books, and they incorporated him as one who had survived as a Nazi through the after the war, and he developed himself in America and became a financial wizard, and that's why I utilized him. And I try to do a contrast between these four women and this German Nazi that come between the two of them. They're battling each other.
Yeah, but the developer's name in the book is Horst, and if I remember correctly, towards the end of the book, they make a settlement, and in essence, he was a commandant at Auschwitz, and you raise the moral question at the end. Really, nobody punishes him, correct?
No, nobody punishes him.
So
Because many of the Germans who survived were not punished.
So talk to me about what was going through you as the writer and with these women who are part of your life, that he gets, to put it bluntly, he gets away with it. I mean, there's no, the cavalry doesn't rush in, the police don't rush him and arrest him as a war criminal. What was going through how you decided to write it that way?
Well, I've written several books involving Germans and Nazis, etc. Many of them did survive. Many of them, I have a book, God Knows the Heroes, and other books where the Nazis who survived the camp, they actually come to America, and I put them in Colorado. And what I do is, they're there and to develop their own world there and take over Colorado and eventually take over America. So I've been involved in Europe many times, many years, and I know because I was an attorney also, and I always realized that many Nazis survived the war itself, and eventually became part of the German government, as well as the whole world's element. They survived, and I try to bring that into my book.
No, you. That's why I raised the question, because one, as you're reading this, one would expect that, that he would be punished and be taken away and exposed, but he's not. And it actually raises another question that I want to talk about with you, and some of the symbolism that I was taking out of this as I read through the book. And we'll do that right after this message.
For 20 years, the Lubetkin Media Companies have been producing award-winning audio and video programs. We produce audio podcasts, documentaries, seminar panels, conference speaker videos, tribute videos, and family legacy videos. And of course, the Seekers of Meaning TV show and podcast for Rabbi Richard Address and JewishSacredAging.com. I'm Steve Lubetkin, and I'd love to invite you to explore the ways that we can tell your story in sound and images. Please visit our website at beingthemedia.com, where you'll see examples of our work for other clients. And if you'd like more information, please email steve@beingthemedia.com. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you out there on the net. Take good care.
So welcome back to today's edition of Seekers of Meaning. We're discussing this book, For Women, with the author, Norman Shabel, who has written this very, very interesting semi-courtroom drama, semi-historical fiction combination, legal, emotional, historical thriller, if I could put all those things together in one package, starring these four women heroes, Helen, Mary, Lily, and Rachel, who are the heroines in many ways of this book. Norman, you write about, as you said, you put this in 1968, which was a year of great transition in the United States of America, a social traumas. Many of us of a certain age remember the demonstrations in 68, some of the other assassinations, the presidential election. Not that we're going to live through that again. Was there a moral lesson that you were trying to write in this? Could the horrors of the Holocaust, in any way, shape, or form, as you were writing this, was it any way thinking that this could happen again here?
That's one of the issues I try to pervade, is that merely because the Germans who survived, I try to put in that they survived in a position of perhaps taking on the future, actually going into governments and taking over governments, and which of course it didn't in fact happen. I try to bring the hero, the alcoholic lawyer. I try to bring him in, and where he's fighting for these women, and he's also fighting his own life. He's an alcoholic, and but I try to bring at the end, all of them come together. They found themselves. He's found himself a hero, and he never was a hero in the past, but he fought strongly. But the real heroines are the women in the book, and that's what I bring out.
Who is Mr. Benesch?
What I try to show, George Bennett was an individual who actually lived in Florida at that time, and who was buried, etc. I try to bring in the people that were living at that time, what they went through, and how they survived, and how the pain and sorrow that they went through. And I try to bring this attorney, alcoholic attorney, who found himself, he found himself as being the person who's going to save these people. And in fact, that's what occurred. He saved all these candidates, notwithstanding he was an alcoholic.
In your writing about George, the plaintiff in the case, because this trial weaves its way through the entire book, and he has a very horrible ending. I'm not going to, expose it because people may want to read the book. But you mention in as you're describing his story, the overwhelming challenge of medical bills and the costs of medical treatment. And I couldn't help but think that you were writing this also not necessarily as part of what was, but what so many people right now are living through. It just costs a lot of money to get sick and to get into the system. Was that part of what you were writing, or am I overreading into this?
No, I have people who were close to me who survived these major problems. The hero, the lawyer who gets them all in survival, he was an alcoholic. I try to show how, even though you're an alcoholic, if you try to get your way and try to live the right way and help people, you will survive.
And so the four women who are the heroines of the story and the title of the book, who, went up against the system, right? They went up against the system and the developer. They fight with the lawyer. And as you write in the book, each one of these women survived the trauma of World War II.
I try to. One of them is a nurse. It was in Europe, etc. I try to take an individual who survived in war, all four of them. I try to have the reader understand how these people who had these problems finally overcame these problems to survive into happy ending is what it is. And even the main character, the lawyer, turns out to be the hero. You know what I mean? And he learned the hard way now that this world that we live in is very difficult to survive no matter who you are. And I try to make this alcoholic, I try to make him the hero. And it turned out that he is the hero.
Can somebody be a hero even if they don't feel that they're capable of being it? Do you have to have your own faith in your own self?
Well, yes, you have to do that. But I try to show the reader that somebody like this, my hero, an alcoholic, can survive and can see better days ahead. And that's what happened. He fought through it all. He went through it all with his law of practice, which went down the tube. But he decided that he was going to save these 4 women. He was going to save them as well as save himself.
And he also, given the circumstances of his client, of George's circumstances, winds up at least benefiting the people who were left behind. So there are the message that I think from as a reader that you're trying to portray in 4 Women is that despite the fact that you may have to live through extremely difficult circumstances, and these people that you wrote did, coming out of this it's a very Jewish response. It's like the Aleinu, that eventually, if you have enough faith in yourself, there's hope. So in that sense, it's a very Jewish book, because it ends in a sense of, well, maybe not everybody got everything that they wanted in the ideal, but everybody survived and came out of it, except, just like Cain and Abel, the German land developer, he's still living a nice life in Miami Beach.
Well, I know people like the German who
I'm sure you do. I'm sure.
I know survived. My heroines survived also. I didn't want to try to fool the reader to say that this German is going to be shot and he's going to be pushed aside, because they're not. Well, no, many of the Germans and many of the bad people of the war survived and are living today.
So reality, sometimes it's neither black or white, it's gray. And you just, I guess, as you're writing in the book, and as you just said, you take what you can and make the best out of what life gives you in order to survive, and hopefully survive well.
I try to be real. I don't want the reader to think that the German is going to be killed.
Right.
You know, I want them to realize that I want the reader to realize that these people will survive and to another day.
And, you know, survival is perhaps the best victory.
Yeah.
Norman, thank you very much, sir. Good luck with 4 Women. Thank you very much for your time. Take care and keep Florida safe.
Very good. Thank you very much. Take care.
To all of you, thank you very, very much for your time and joining us on today's edition of Speakers of Meaning, the podcast, the arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. Again, if you'd like to make a comment, please feel free to email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. If you'd like to support our work, please go to the website, jewishsacredaging.com. Check on the conveniently located donate button. And if you would like to become a sponsor of some of these podcasts, please just email me again at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. These programs are produced at the Broadcast Center of Lubetkin Media Companies in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And an extreme shout out to our genius producer, Steve Lubetkin. Until we see each other again on the next Seekers of Meaning, take care, everyone. Stay safe. And most of all, be kind to one another. Shalom.